Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to episode 17 of the Conscious Hotline, your source for all things conscious and hot. Say it with me, baby. I am so excited to be joined by my friend Lisa Trope today. We're going to talk about breath work and how you can use it as a powerful tool to harness your energy and turn this thing that we do all the time into a superpower. Lisa to the show. If you have any questions throughout the show, put them in the comments and I will ask the guest as they come up. Hi, darling.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Happy to see you.
So good to see you.
Wonderful to be here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Honored. So at the Conscious Hotline, we always start every episode with something juicy, some kind of opening question to show yourself to the good people. So
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Yeah, totally. Today's question is, I want to know the last time that you had your breath, like that something took your breath away.
Oh man, this is the first thing that popped in my head, which is like kind of gross. But the other day, I found out recently mice like chocolate, like love chocolate, which is really gross. But I came into my room and I had left chocolate on one of my desks, and there was a little mouse there, and I literally did like the reaction. And I spilled my tea all over the bed, and yeah, so that was the most recent. So currently needing to buy traps and don't leave chocolate out because I guess that's a thing. So
oh my gosh,
but they're kind of cute. I don't know. I know that's people probably think that's gross, but I think they're kind of cute.
Yeah,
messing with me.
I live in a 120-year-old house, so there's no way to mouse proof it. And
Yeah.
we had a mouse scaling. We have a screened-in back porch, and it was scaling the screen, like climbing straight up. I had no idea. They can literally climb walls like straight. It's insane.
I would believe it. It was just hanging out like with my Reese's
Eating your chocolate. Did you throw away the chocolate?
Oh yeah.
I would be like, that was $4 or $6.
I know. I had like the typical reaction though, where like my whole body, like I like was like, and I like spilled tea, and yeah, it was a whole thing. So definitely
we're so afraid of something this big, like a little mouse can cause a whole panic attack.
Oh, definitely can take your breath away. Maybe not in the most romantic way, but
yeah, hey, that's honest. I love that. So speaking of taking your breath away, I would love for you to kind of start this off with a breath practice and just kind of show the people instead of tell the people what it's all about.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I love to just start from the beginning, just to kind of explain a little bit before we start. In our culture, right? Like we're so often we're running around, we're working so quickly, we have so many stressors. And so sometimes it just takes like literally getting back to the most basics in your body to feel better. So I thought what we could do is we'll just kind of take a moment to ground in. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do like a full body scan. We're going to simply notice what's happening in our bodies, because as you and I know, if we want to create the reality we want in our lives, we have to like literally take ourselves off autopilot and into the present moment. And then from there, we're going to take 3 deep belly breaths. We're going to do a longer exhale than an inhale. And then finally, we're going to do some reverse nostril breathing. So the reason why we're doing the last 2 things is, as I'm sure you've taken yoga classes where the teacher says like, accentuate the exhale, make the exhale longer, but never really explains why. The reasoning behind the why is because it actually brings us into our rest or digest state. And it
brings us into our what state?
Into like our rest or digest state. So essentially it allows us to feel more calm in our body, for us to come into the present moment instead of like our minds being all crazy. So that's actually why we do longer exhales. So we'll do like an inhale of 3, exhale of 6. And then we're going to do some reverse nostril breathing, which helps align the left and the right side of the brain and just create more calm. So that's what we're going to do. With the reverse nostril breathing, pretty simple. You're going to use your index finger or your ring finger and your pinky and your thumb. You're going to just plug one side of your nose and inhale into the other. And then you're going to plug the other side and exhale. So we'll do that a few times too. Does that sound good?
I'm already
Cool.
doing it. I'm like, oh yeah.
You're like,
Give me the breath. Give me the good breath, Lisa.
you're like, please, just I want to feel good. Yes, exactly. So, and then whoever is on the call, we'd love for you to also join. So
Please.
this will just be like 1 minute, but we should feel good afterwards. All right, so just take a moment to get comfy and put your feet on the ground. Closing down the eyes if you'd like, dropping the shoulders down, relaxing the jaw. And simply just take a moment, starting at the top of the head, to simply just notice what's happening in your body. So maybe there's some heaviness, some lightness, maybe some tingling. Whatever you're feeling, just notice it to bring yourself back to the present, moving all the way from the top of your head to the tip of your toes, scanning all the way down and continuing to breathe. And then when you've gotten to the tips of your toes, placing a hand on your belly, inhaling for 3 into your belly, 1, 2, 3, and exhaling for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just taking a moment now to notice how that feels in your body. And now taking both your ring and your pinky finger and your thumb, plugging one side of your nostril, inhaling in the other, and then plugging the opposite nostril and exhaling all the way. Slowing it down and inhale in and exhale. One more time, inhale and exhale. And there you go.
Hi.
Hi, how do you feel?
I loved, remind me the name of that technique because I know it's a pranayama breathwork technique.
It's called, well, the colloquial names are reverse nostril breathing, so you could look it up.
What's the Sanskrit name? Do you know?
I meant to look that up, but I don't know it off the top of my head. Sorry.
Hey, I think the most powerful answer in the world is I don't know. Like that's a courageous answer. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the 3-6 breath work was very stressful for me. And I'm curious if anyone else had that experience, write it in the comments. Because for me, it was like, I only have 3 seconds to fill up my lungs, but then it's going to take me 6 seconds to like, there's not enough air. Like there's more air going out than in, but like I need more air. Like I just went into like scarcity panic.
Yeah, so that's real. So it's interesting because usually what I end up doing is I'll do like 5 in or 10 in even and 10 or 20 out. But
double.
Yeah, so it's so interesting because sometimes though we have trouble where it's like we've learned for so long to only breathe from our upper chest. Does it sound weird on your end?
It's okay.
Okay, we're good. We've learned for so often to just breathe from our upper chest that sometimes that 5 or 10 seconds is like way too long for people. Mm-hmm. So you really should just cater it for what feels good to you. So when you do this on your own, definitely, I do it for way longer than 3 seconds, but I got feedback saying like 5 seconds is too long. So I think you just kind of need to do what feels good.
Yeah. Like I just breathed in, is that a word? I'm using it, for 5 seconds, and that felt a lot more spacious for me. So
yeah,
just a big breather and need a lot of oxygen or something.
no, that's good. That means that you like that you're doing some of that deeper breathing, because for a lot of folks the 3 seconds is like plenty and it's too much. So that means that like if you're doing this on your own, or even if you're taking a class with me or someone else, like you can just do it for longer, right? Like if I did it for 10 rounds, you're just like, man, I'm just gonna do what I need to do. I'm gonna inhale for 10. So
yeah. So tell me more about your breathwork offerings, because I've done breathwork in the sense of like Kundalini classes, like Breath of Fire and like that, and like all those crazy ones, which I love, that like make you feel like you're on ecstasy and like you're gonna pass out, like your arms are gonna fall off all at once. You're like getting past life regression downloads. You're like being reborn through the birthing canal. Like I've had crazy experiences. I've seen people. I mean, I used to work for a seminar company that would do holotropic breathing, which is like we would superimpose like drumming over a heartbeat and then like lead people on a breath work spiral. And I mean, people would lose their shit, like screaming, pissing themselves. Like it was crazy. Like we would always be like, okay, everyone buckle up. Like before we did that practice as a team, we would like get really real with one another. So I'm just curious, like what your experience with breathwork has been and what your offerings are.
totally. So there's so many different modalities of breath work, as you know. So many. I mean, like hundreds, right? And so I kind of teach 2 different forms. I teach classes that are much more relaxed, and that you're doing kind of the breathing that we just did. Because I think that we live in such a like uptight and crazy society that it is important to do classes like that, just to get back to the basics, get back to moving into that calm, present, rest, and digest state. I teach classes like that. I also teach something that is coined revelation breathwork, which is very intense. So similar to like fire Kundalini or holotropic breathing. It's so beautiful. I really have seen with people I've been doing classes with in the last few months that if they're having a bad week or if they're really stressed out or anxious, that kind of breath work like literally releases any energetic crap that they're holding on to, and it's amazing. But with that being said, like if someone is brand new to breath work, I usually don't start them off with that. I kind of start them off with like, let's just like learn how to breathe the way we were born breathing. Let's do some like, calming breath, and then from there, if folks are interested in doing the revelation breath work, I do one-on-ones, and I also do small group classes, and they're really powerful. You cry, you laugh, everything in between.
Mm-hmm. And have you done that like on Zoom, because it's COVID-19 days? So
yeah.
Otherwise, you're in Denver.
What'd you say?
I said otherwise you're in Denver.
Yes. So I've been doing it all through Zoom, even with people in Denver right now, just with COVID. But I hope once this subsides some, I would love to do like one-on-ones in person or small groups, because Zoom does work. We figured it out, but I think having that like group dynamic is really nice too.
Yeah. And I think it gives people permission, like at least in the seminar company I used to work for where we did the holotropic breath work, it's like, well, that person's really going for it. So let me like up my oxygen levels. I don't know, man. It's crazy. Breath work is crazy. I feel like does it scientifically put you in a state of like psychosis or like insomnia, like physiologically?
So are you saying that like, can it make you go crazy? Is that the question?
that is my question. Can breathing make you crazy?
You do have to be careful. I mean, there are some really, really powerful pranayamas, and it is suggested if like someone struggles with like schizophrenia or otherwise that some of the more intense breath works are not supposed to be done. So, however, I personally have struggled with anxiety and depression, and the revelation breathwork I teach has been one of the most amazing healing modalities I've been able to do. Like I literally feel like when I started doing it, I had such huge releases, like where I was literally like sobbing my eyes out for like 20 minutes, that I really felt like it was like energetic just energy stuck in my body that like was finally gone. And so I wouldn't be scared of it if you have kind of the run of the mill, if you want to call it, mental health that a lot of folks have. But definitely if you struggle with more intense mental illness, some of that more intense work is probably not ideal for you.
Yeah, I love what you said about run of the mill mental health, because I was literally watching the show Insecure today, and on it, she was like, oh man, that's so mean that he ghosted her. And then his friend was like, actually, he was going through a lot of mental health stuff. And then she's like, oh, is he okay? And I was just thinking, wow, how cool that in 2020, a show on HBO that's like highlighting what it's like to be dating and single in your 20s and finding your way in the world is normalizing. And in fact, it's not even normalizing mental health. It's already normalized in the show, to where it went from like her being like, how dare he ghost her, to, oh, is he okay? Mm-hmm. And I love that is the reality that we're living in and the world that we're creating for future generations. And I also am reminded of Marianne Williamson. She says, if you're not feeling depressed, if you're not experiencing anxiety, you're not paying attention, because the planet is warming up at crazy rates. You know, there's more slaves today than there were during the slave trade. We've got huge problems with homelessness and hunger that could easily be solved. Like, you know, it's like what the Dalai Lama says. We're drowning in wealth and we're starving for like humanity.
Ooh, yeah. You just gave me, I'm not even kidding, I just got like the full body shivers. But yeah. Yes, exactly. And I think it's amazing. Like I've seen those like memes where it's like millennials are like, oh, my therapist this week, and then boomers or whatever they're called are like, I saw my therapist this week, you know. Starting to become so much more open about the fact that like struggling with anxiety and maybe depression and other issues is normal, and we can do something about it too. Like breathwork has been a huge part of my journey with my mental health, and there's a lot going on in the world right now that's really hard and terrifying, and so I think it's really probably a lot more common than we think, and thankfully people are starting to express that. So
yeah. Is there a particular breathwork exercise that you find really useful for depression? I was just talking to someone yesterday that was like, I just can't get out of bed, it's so bad right now. And I'm curious if there's something that you do when you're like really feeling depressed.
Honestly, when I am really struggling, I usually end up taking a revelation class from my trainer. You have to be ready for that. So I mean, I think maybe starting with something more simple, frankly, like when I'm just like overwhelmed, just doing a longer exhale than inhale can make such a difference. Slowing down, noticing my body. But if you're really wanting to like get rid of whatever is sitting within you, that's what I do. So it's like every other week or so, like when the weight of the world is kind of intense, which I think it is for a lot of us, I'm like, all right, I don't really want to do it because it's going to be intense. As you know, like you're not really often in the mood, but you have to show up anyway. And so that's what I do for when I'm feeling really heavy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate that wisdom. And I'm sure a lot of people can benefit from that, because like I said, if you're not depressed or anxious, you're not paying attention. Be depressed and anxious. Everybody experience it, feel the pain of the world. Man, I get the New York Times debriefs in my inbox every day because I was getting too deep down conspiracy theory rabbit holes, and I was having a hard time differentiating between Alex Jones and CNN. I was widening my breadth of news a little too much. And so now I'm doing New York Times every day for like some grounding reality, but it is also a very intense way to start the day. And it's just a brief, what they send you like 5 paragraphs of like, this is, you know, health, economy, wellness, the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, as you know, in my past life, sort of, I was like an environmental activist. I worked as a political organizer for a long, long time.
And she doesn't mean like past life soul regression, because my co-host does a lot of those. She means like her last career in this life, incarnation. Yeah. She's like, you got to be specific on the Conscious Hotline when you're talking about past lives.
That's so true. I was actually watching one the other day. I need to be more careful with that. But and she had mentioned that. I was like, I want to do a past life regression.
She's really good. Yeah, I highly recommend her.
That's awesome. But yeah, it's a lot. And I mean, the people I used to work with were amazing, but I think the important thing too is just like really taking care of yourself. Like personally, I know I can't watch visual. I know this is going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I can't watch like visual trauma. if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
not only like to the extreme, right? Like police brutality, but I also like can't even watch like something about like, I don't know, forest burning or something, because it literally like just sets me off. So I will read about it, and I will like be careful to read about it, you know, a few times a week instead of every day. And so I always told the organizers and activists I work with, like, just make sure that like you're setting that boundary with yourself, because it's really easy not to. So
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that too, because there's been a big surge of traumatic videos being shared on the internet. And I just, for anyone listening, like, it is triggering and traumatizing for people to watch videos of people being shot. We don't need to see proof of Black people being killed by the police to know that it's happening. We know it's happening, and don't share those videos because they're bad for the Black community. They're normalizing something that's wrong and bad. They're traumatizing for empaths. They're just all around bad. And if you need to see a video to believe it, then again, you're not paying attention. That's my little PSA for everyone.
Yeah, right. We're both going down some PSAs.
Yeah, well, you got to. Seriously, I was so amazed. Like, St. Hoax is a really woke account that I follow, and they were resharing the video of the officer shooting that gentleman 7 times in the back. And I'm like, no. It's like, you guys should know better. Don't do that. Just read the article, believe it, and then make the phone calls and vote and, you know, defund the police.
I couldn't agree more with you. I think that really needs to shift. It's not normal to be sharing people getting killed and people watch it. Like, that's just not normal in my opinion. And like, yeah, so
I can't even watch like Fast and the Furious, honestly. That's how sensitive I am with it. I get nightmares so easily, even from commercials of horror movies. Like, I will have nightmares for weeks. Like, yeah, you're the same way.
Literally like years.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I saw the movie Saw in like 8th grade. It still haunts me.
Yeah, I saw it. I won't even go into it, but yeah, I'll talk about a horror movie like I've seen it yesterday, and it's been like literally years. So just
do you do anything when you're in that state of trigger? Do you have a particular practice that resonates with you for breath work that you do?
Honestly, the biggest thing for me recently has been moving my body and breathing. So it's not even like maybe so I do think the reverse nostril breathing is amazing. I do find that just helps like really calm the hemispheres of the mind. It really, really does. So that's one of them. But like, let's say like sometimes I can't do a revelation breath work session, right? It's the middle of the work day. I'm really frustrated about something. So sometimes I just literally put on a song and I put my hands on my belly and I dance in my freaking mirror. And I just literally take like the deepest belly breaths I possibly can take, while also being connected with the ground and the earth. Because like so much of the time I find that when we're triggered, right, it's literally like we're up here and we're not here. We're not in our bodies. And so taking a moment to put our feet on the ground, to really feel our feet on the ground, and then taking those deep, deep belly breaths. So like I'll listen to 2-3 songs and I'll just kind of sway and dance and breathe. Because actually, like, if you'll start noticing, I was doing a little challenge last week on our Rising Moon page, but a lot of us actually breathe only from here up, literally. And this is signaling to our body that something isn't right, because this is when we're supposed to be in our sympathetic nervous system. Like, that's the fight or flight freeze. Like, I'm going to fight someone, right? So if we're only breathing from up here all day long, and then on top of it, we're triggered by something, and we keep breathing here, you're just going to stay in that state for way, way longer. Just coming down into the low belly, that, like, I swear, it solves so many problems for me personally. And if you try it out, I'd be curious to see what you think. Just hands on belly, movement, moving the energy, really moving your diaphragm and breathing deeply.
Yeah. Even throughout this whole episode, I noticed myself breathing more. And I'm wearing really tight, high-waisted underwear, and I'm like noticing it. I'm like, ooh, this belly breath.
You're like, ooh,
yeah,
this is
totally. I don't know why I thought I was a size small. I got very cocky at Victoria's Secret. I was like, okay, I'm small today.
I bet they look awesome.
They're beautiful. I'll send you a picture. Yeah. And what I love about that too is it speaks to what you said earlier about there being so many modalities of breath work, because there's so many modalities of honoring the lower abdominal area that you're talking about. And like in Tai Chi, it's considered the power center, right? And in like Krav Maga or fighting or jiu-jitsu, like that's where you make your moves from, is not from your legs or your shoulders, but it's like from that grounded center 2 inches below your belly button is like, and then that's the, that's a chakra point as well. So it's like, it's all over Southeast Asia. Everyone will say like, that's the place that you focus on. So it's really beautiful to hear you kind of affirm that even in breath work, like that's where the breath should be going.
That's where it's all at. And of course, in classes I teach, like I'll teach many other ways of breathing, box breathing, right? Like there's so many different ways that can just help us regulate our minds, actually control our minds. In yogic philosophy, it's believed that if we control our breath, we control our minds. And it's the only thing we do consciously and unconsciously, which I think is fascinating. So people spend their entire lives like literally just focusing on how to regulate their breath so they can regulate their mind, which a lot of times we talk about with like meditation. Otherwise, like really the first step, I believe, and some practitioners believe, should be the breath, then the mind. Like it's the only way. But the point of that whole tangent is that I of course teach other techniques in class and otherwise, but like I'm always about, let's find like something people can do right away if they can't drop everything and go to a class, right? So that deep belly breathing sounds so simple. It is so simple, but it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I believe it 100%. And I love like what you just said, like blew my mind, because it's so true. Like control your breath, control your mind. And what is it? 80% of our thoughts are subconscious and our breath is mostly subconscious. And so it's like two areas of our life where, because if I want to move my arm, I have to consciously choose to move my arm, but breath and thought happen subconsciously. And so control one, you control the other. And it starts with breath for sure. I mean, I know, we were talking about depression, and like, it's so hard to do the action when in a state of depression, right? Like, what do I want to do when I'm feeling down? I want to feel more down. Like sometimes I'll like watch videos of seals being clubbed, like horrible. I'll just like go down the route. I'm like, I want to feel really sad. And like, I'm just going to Google like hunger and famine and GMOs and like really get down on myself in the world. And, you're laughing like you've been there.
Yeah, maybe a few times.
Like, I'm not crazy, right? Yeah. And so just remembering that it's like, okay, just go back to the breath. Like, that's what I can do. And I don't even have to move. I can just literally, wherever I am feeling anxious or feeling anything that's coming on, just breathe. And then that will control the thoughts, because, positive thoughts, positive life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And it's funny, it's not really a side tangent, but yesterday I was kind of going down like the TEDx like rabbit hole. I don't know.
Love that. I get their emails too, that like they're like, this is your TEDx for the week. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, I was just on YouTube and I started watching one, and then it led to another, and this one was about confidence. I was like, okay, I'm curious. And it felt not serendipitous, actually. It was like, wow, of course, because I was about to do this with you, but it was giving kind of 3 ways that you can be more confident in like your speech. And the number one thing that she said was, she asked a question in the audience. She said, how do you know who's the most powerful person in the room? And her answer was the person who has the most relaxed and calm breath. And I was like, oh, there you go. And
you're like, okay, screen record, commercial for me.
But it's really, I really do think like specifically, so she talks a lot about the diaphragm, which everyone's like, doesn't think about the diaphragm.
Can you show where the diaphragm is on your body? Just demo.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm not wearing a bra, but if I was, it's right below.
It's the Conscious Hotline. We like to keep it hot, okay?
Yeah, right. I'm like, oh, well, all right, whatever. So it's like, if you're a woman and you're wearing a bra or not, or man, it's right below the bra line. So if you actually place your fingers on like that area and you inhale and exhale, you'll actually feel your diaphragm moving, and it moves like this. And it has it like the Greeks called it like something like the beginning of expression, like literally like the way that we start to express in the world, right? Because our diaphragm, breathing from that place, allows us to express, speak, sing, and so moving that diaphragm like has a huge impact, not only on our mental health, but our physical health, our digestion, our energy, our sleep. So It's amazing. So as much as you can, like really focus breathing from that low belly, you're actually using your diaphragm, and it's doing more than just calming you. Like it's literally like that, moving the diaphragm, which I just keep doing this.
Yeah. No, I'm touching my
people,
bra and I'm like, there's a lot going on in here. I think I can find it, but I'm like burying through myself. You know, I'm a little chesty, so I'm like searching for it.
Yeah, you're like that tight underwear and the
sports bra. Yeah, forget about it.
So
yeah, I think that's another great point though for women. I think this is one of the reasons why underwire bras are bad, because they constrict our diaphragm, right? I mean, do you agree with me?
Yeah, I think that like really tight clothing can be a challenge for breathing well. But also, I mean, you know, I backpack a lot. My friend who does breath work with me was like, now I can't breathe from my diaphragm, like because the backpack is like, so, you know, sometimes it's like you just, if you want to look hot, if you want to backpack, like you gotta compromise a little bit. But I think it is good to be wearing, you know, looser clothes, because you're that prana, that life force, the ability to move more easily, and that diaphragm.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, I want you to tell the good people how they can connect with Rising Moon Collective, and just kind of plug that for us really quickly, because that's a really amazing thing that you've created.
Thank you. So Rising Moon Collective is something that was created by my friend and I. So a few years back, I hiked the Colorado Trail from Denver to Durango, and that had like a really big impact on my life.
How many miles is that?
Like a little under 500.
How long did it take you?
I think about 4.5 weeks, 5 weeks. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it was.
You're my hero.
You were one of mine for sure. So I feel like we're like, but seriously. So I did that, and it really did have such a big impact on my life, on my ability to trust myself, on the healing power of nature. Like just being out there in that high vibration was incredible for that long. And so with that, paired that with like breath work, which I super in love with, as you can probably tell, and eating well, and just like doing all these things. I was on antidepressant until about 1.5 years ago. And so getting off of that, figuring out essentially like nature plus breath, plus working on my nutrition for many years and hormone balancing with my friend Sally, I decided, and we decided, it would be cool to put together a thing where women can come and work on all of those healing modalities. Because I really do feel like we need the physical, mental, emotional, nature, like we need it all. And so if you want to start taking classes with me, our website's going to be up soon, but also like you can just DM us on Rising Moon, because they're pretty good right now, like once or twice a week I teach. So you can just follow us at Rising Moon Collective.
Perfect. I'll tag it in the show notes, and you're tagged in the show announcement too. So beautiful. Yeah, I'll be signing up for a class, most certainly.
Sweet.
Thank you. And another resource I recommend to people that love this and want to do more breath work is the breathing book. It's on my shelf. It's just a bunch of different practices. I got it in coaching school. It's a recommended book for coaches. And so it's a bunch of different types of breathwork practices that you can do. It's just called the breathing book. And I found it really profound. It was like written in the 80s, so it's good stuff.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I just ordered a new 80s looking breathing book of sorts yesterday.
Good. Love it. Well, Lisa, I am so grateful for your time and your wisdom, and the exercise that gave me anxiety, balance of the exercise that balanced me out, the roller coaster that is breath work. I'm just so grateful for you. I think you're brilliant. I think you're smart. I think you're doing great work. I think you're on your path. And I think the world is, I want to make a joke about breathy for what you're doing, but I can't think of it fast enough. So the world wants what you have to give. That's what I'm going to say.
Thank you. And thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you. This was really fun. So.
Good. Yes. Well, we'll do it again soon. Mwah.
Good. Mwah. Bye.
Bye.